post range roundup with the Fusion Firearms XF Pro ported, and the Daria DY9 Island with the ported Island barrel. So very similar results overall. Both of these pistols shoot incredibly flat and are just phenomenal at the end of the day. The only issue we did have on the day is I did have a couple light primer strikes with the XF Pro, but I think I figured it out to actually be an issue with the magazines, not an issue with the striker itself. So what I believe is happening is I don't think the XF likes the magazines that have the thick feed lips. So like the Magpul, unfortunately the Hex mags, I don't think they feed appropriately. It likes the thinner ones with the metal feed lips, like the KCIs, the Glock mags, you know, the things of those nature. Because when I swapped out and put the Hex mags and the Magpul magazines away, and I just ran the factory ones, and I actually used the Daria factory magazine in the XF, it ran perfectly fine. No more light primer strikes. What I think is happening is I don't think it's allowing the cartridge to actually enter the chamber fully. It's getting hung up on the feed lips, and it's not actually going into the barrel and seating properly, which is causing, I don't think it's actually a light primer strike. I just don't think the primer is lining up with the striker because the casing is not fully reaching the height that it's supposed to in the chamber. So that's what it seemed like to me anyway. Once we rectified that, both ran fantastically. One thing about the XF Pro, it is a laser beam. This thing is absolutely on target. The return to zero is fantastic, and it is accurate as all get out, even with the ported barrel. One thing I did notice with the Daria is that, especially once we got out past 7 yards, I started to notice some issues with accuracy. The heavier the bullet weight, up to 147, the more inaccurate it was. Now, I'm sure part of that was my grip, and I continue to work on that a little bit because it does have a little bit different design grip than your standard. And although it feels extremely comfortable in the hand, there's something about just the way it seats in my palm that I had to work on that a little bit. And I had to work on getting my palm, my other palm, more up on the side of the gun here without affecting slide reciprocation at the same time, but to get a better overall grip. And as I continued to work on that towards the later rounds of shooting, accuracy improved and it got better. So I do believe it had a lot more to do with my overall grip than it had to do with the actual pistol itself. One thing I will say that I don't like about the DY9 in comparison to the XF is the XF has a very short and crisp trigger. Now, both of these are clear. There's no magazines. Now, the XF trigger is extremely short and crisp. Sorry, didn't get the reset there. Short and crisp, right? That reset is right there, and I love it. The one thing I don't like about the DY9 is that there's a lot more travel in the trigger. It does have a similar short reset, but there's a lot more overall travel in the trigger, and it just feels squishier, it feels cheap, it feels plasticky, whereas the aluminum trigger in the XF just feels better in the hand, and it feels like it engages more precisely. So I definitely am going to look into a trigger upgrade for the Daria. I do believe that it is all Glock inside, so I believe something like a Superior trigger, a Tyrant CNC, one of those ones that's out there should be a better upgrade for it. I actually reached out to Superior to see if he has dealt with this and if he could confirm that one of his triggers would actually fit in the DY9, and if it does, then I may reach out to him and pick up one of his 3-pound triggers and see how we can roll forward with that. But overall, very successful day. I enjoyed shooting the DY9 as well as the XF Pro, as I always do. Fantastic comparison. I think ergonomically between the two, the XF Pro fits in my hand better. I like the way it feels overall. It is a little bit easier for me to get on target with this and stay on target. The only thing I do wish is I wish there was a way that we could get rid of the optics plate and do a direct mount on the optic for the XF Pro, because the optic does sit extremely high and makes it extremely difficult to eye a target. So you're completely 100% relying on the optic, and thankfully this optic is zeroed very well. But if you have an issue where your optic starts to lose a zero or anything like that occurs, then you're completely shit out of luck, because there is literally no way that you're going to be able to co-witness with that in any way, shape, or form. Whereas with the DY9, although it doesn't fully co-witness, you can kind of find it there, even though, and I could also work on that with just an optic that has a slightly thinner footprint than the Omega. I love the way the Omega looks on this. It worked fantastic. You know, I did The zero was not perfect, and I unfortunately forgot my optic tool, so I wasn't able to work on any of the zeroing while we were there. So I was trying to eyeball it, which again could be another issue why I was having some issues with accuracy. But it worked when it wanted to, if that makes sense. So yeah, overall good experience. It is a very light firearm, especially in comparison to the XF Pro, which is all metal, and I think that's part of the reason why I feel like this one shoots a little bit better overall and is just a little bit more ergonomically capable, and it fits better in the hand, feels better in the hand. I think that weight just adds to it. But I do love the DY9 altogether. For two very similarly priced pistols, they're extremely close in overall performance, but the edge definitely goes to the XF Pro in this instance. So I hope you guys have an awesome day. If you have any questions, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Later. Daria liked the feed lips, so we're back to factory mag.